Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon edition of Big Brother 22 All-Stars Live Feed Spoilers. This is day 3. It is early enough that I don't actually have to remind myself what day it is in the house yet. That will
Yep.
come at about day 17 or so. There is a lot going on. I am still in love with this season, by the way. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, no, it's good.
The alliances that are kind of forming and not forming, there's a lot of gameplay going on. It
Yep.
feels like there's more legitimately interesting things, complicated scenarios, and nobody has even been nominated yet, and that's a part of this that's really funny to me.
Yeah, the thing that's been really fun about the feeds right now is everybody kind of feeling each other out when it comes to sort of alliances, or do you even just want to work together for a little while, like that kind of stuff that's going on. It's good.
Yeah, and this video is going to be mostly about alliance conversations, talks people are having as they try to feel each other out, as they're trying to figure out, okay, who do I want to work with? Who do I not want to work with? Who am I interested in? We'll talk about some of these conversations and figure out, okay, could this be a good alliance? Are they lying? Because there's definitely some good old lying going on.
Yes.
And hopefully nominations will happen a little bit later in the day, so Jess and I will be back to discuss that. But before we get into this craziness, if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and support us more by checking the links in the description to the store, our Patreon. Jess and I do a live last Sunday of every month over there. We got some other stuff as well.
Okay, so let's start out with sort of the basics of what is going on right now. We know that Kaser and Janelle are safe,
Yes.
so that is
they're
good. And Kevin and Keisha are the likely nominees. That's your winner's pick.
It would be so on brand. Like, why am I so good at predicting the Big Brother Canada winners and so terrible at predicting pretty much everything else?
But I mean, there are still a lot of conversations going on.
Yeah.
I mean, there was even the big conversation this morning that I didn't get to come on and talk about Janelle telling Nicole A about that whole thing that Dan told her about DERRICK, about the Nicole F thing. Really interesting gameplay, and it's the more that I thought about it, the more I was just like, this is such a brilliant like move that she's done. And it sort of reminds me a little bit of Jeffree Star, and I'll just put that out there. I watch drama channels. I love the beauty community. You guys can, drag me for that. So I don't care. I love it. Anyways, Jeffree Star is really good at doing exactly what Janelle did, which is having very valuable information and feeding it to somebody, and then they go and sort of feed it to other people, and then they end up not being the person that ends up getting sort of any blood on their hands, because you shoot the messenger, right? It's somebody else. I think that this is going to spread, because if Nicole A decides not to tell anyone, I could see Janelle telling someone else and seeing if maybe that will go. And it's such a beautiful move because it builds all these seeds of distrust around Nicole F. If she's going to do something like this and she hasn't even gotten the game yet, then why would you trust her in the game? I think that whatever happened, or maybe this is just me inside of what I want to see happen, I think whatever happened outside the game is going to come out in a fight in the game.
I hope so. All it's gonna take is just one person being told, oh, by the way, I was told that Nicole F is the reason that DERRICK didn't play the game. And
as soon as it gets back to Nicole F, it's going to spark off.
Yeah, and maybe somebody will actually know the real answer. And I honestly, I kind of wish there was an answer out there, because otherwise we're just all stuck with, like, looking around in all directions. And this has been going on since before this season even started.
Yeah, because some of the threads to this rumor that was coming out that was like, oh, she got them kicked off the season so she could have their spot, don't make any sense. They're not going to take out a man to put in a woman. There needs to be equal people here.
Yeah.
So this is tea I actually just really want to know, because for them to get kicked off the season, either Nicole has said something that's not true or has a tiny bit of smoke around it that production would just be like, absolutely not, or, did something actually happen that production's like, absolutely not. Pre-gaming is not enough.
No, it's everybody in this house pre-game, including Nicole F., who I'm
Absolutely.
99% sure pre-gamed with Danny, and I think that's one of the reasons why it seems like they're kind of close from the start. They may also be friendly outside of all this, but okay, let's get into the alliance conversations because
There's a lot.
there is a lot, and we've kind of went through this already. You sort of have a Cody side of the house where you have the Cody, Tyler, kind of David's around this, Nicole F's around this,
Yeah.
Danny's sort of around this. Then that's kind of one group, and then you have Janelle, and obviously Kaser's over there, and
Yeah.
Nicole A's kind of over there, and
Yeah.
maybe Memphis and Keisha can end up there. But Kaser and Bailey were having a conversation, and to me, Bailey is sort of one of the people that's kind of sort of in the middle and may have some potential allies on both different sides. And they had a very personal conversation at first, which, I think we agree is very good social gameplay.
Yeah.
And then he starts going in to her and talking about how Tyler, David, and Cody are working together, and he keeps pushing, okay, keep this a secret. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell Davon. Don't tell anybody. These three are working together. I know it. I know. And it's like, okay, Kaser, this is good. You're getting to know people. You're giving them information. You're making it feel like they can trust you. I think he does have to be kind of careful because I do think he could come across as a little bit pushy with the way that he was sort of hammering it home to just don't tell anybody. I understand he is paranoid.
Yeah, he is paranoid because he knew that he was probably going to be going up on the block. So now that he has safety, it's only for a little bit amount of time. So this is a good time for him to start putting feelers out and seeing who he can trust. But I get why he's really pushing to be like, please don't tell anyone, please don't tell anyone. And him saying, please don't tell Davon. Like, we saw that Bailey and Davon have talked and that they've kind of been like, hey, it's you and me, we're going to figure it out, which I love. So, I mean, of course Bailey's going to go and tell Davon, but I think that if she does, it'll just stop there.
You know what this whole situation kind of reminds me of a little bit? Is actually, to speak of Danny, in Big Brother 13, when Danny had sort of that golden key protection after her dad left, where she was basically safe for a few weeks.
Yep.
And it was just sort of like, well, I can do kind of whatever I want, and nobody can put me on the block right now. I feel like that's kind of what's going on here with Kaser.
And it's a good time to take that as an opportunity to do that because you are safe. It's kind of like having HOH power, right? People are able to kind of talk to you and whatever because there's no threat around you at that point. So he's got to use it.
The only thing I'm worried about here is that Bailey and Tyler, they played together. They kind of have, I don't know if it's an alliance, but I hope Bailey doesn't tell Tyler because that will ruin all of the fun of seeing these two sides potentially going to battle.
I really just want to see it be Bailey and Davon, and I do feel that that's kind of where it's going to go. I mean, Bailey and Tyler, they're okay, but after seeing that conversation this morning, I feel like Bailey and Davon are a little more, this is real, like really, really real. So
I hope so.
And speaking of things that are not real, there was also a conversation with Janelle and Nicole F, where they both were kind of like, yeah, let's work together. And it was the most lies we've seen going on so far.
It was so, I loved everything about this conversation. And this is both sides, by the way. I know that I've been much more of a Janelle fan than a Nicole F fan, but I did enjoy both of them just blatantly lying to one another's face. Because at one scene, you see Nicole being like how scared she is of Janelle all the time, and now Nicole F is just like, we can really do this. We can work together. Janelle's just going along with it, while Janelle is still wearing this ridiculous star costume, which makes all of it funnier to me. Like, there's not that much context that needs to be taken away from all of this other than that they're two good players. They're obviously going to act like they're going to be buddy-buddy. Janelle can't go on the block. Nicole F doesn't need to do anything that's going to hurt her.
No.
Janelle's not going to show her cards at this point.
No.
Okay, so now let's pivot over to Kevin. We haven't talked that much about Kevin, and there was a moment briefly where he was sort of by himself in a room earlier today, and it felt like he was venting frustration about how I don't think he feels like he's found his people. It's like, nobody hates him. He's going on the block, but he's going on the block presumably just because he's an easy person to put on the block. It's not like, oh,
he's just not making those connections yet.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, that's Kevin Campbell. We need to throw him out of there. This is no Karen from Big Brother Canada being like, that Kevin Martin.
No, this is more of a thing where, you know, Cody's probably looking at Kevin and seeing that he's not really part of anything and kind of being like, is anyone going to be really mad at me besides me and Matt over here that if we get put up Kevin and send him out?
Yeah. So Kevin, he has at least had a brief conversation with Ian about himself, Ian, Nicole, Anthony being somewhat of a group. Ian was fairly receptive to the idea. Most of these alliances are alliances. Nobody has come up with names as of yet, though. Hearing Ian's explanation for the Quack Pack was hilarious to me because he was just like, I just like ducks, and that was just sort of it. But you know, I think Ian's open to the idea. I don't think he's solidifying anything just yet, but I would love to see this alliance. Wouldn't you love to see this alliance?
I love that there are so many people that are circling around Nicole Anthony, because I'm telling you, I was really worried actually after Janelle and Kaser got this safety that she was going to be somebody that was going to be circled around really fast, that Nicole F, for whatever reason, seems to have something for her that she would be really pushing that agenda.
And good on Ian as well, because he was also someone who could have been in a little bit of danger. This is for everyone out there who has been mad at Nicole F for the entirety of this season. You can, if you're an Ian fan, you can at least be somewhat grateful that she doesn't want to win or to leave right now, and that's probably one of the reasons Ian's okay.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised by that in some ways, that Nicole F wouldn't want to be the only winner there, to be like, I now am the only person here that can have a chance to be the only person who's won multiple times.
She's already wants to be the only Nicole there. So
That's right. So wouldn't she also want to be the only winner?
It's certainly possible. Who knows?
Okay, so Danny's kind of in an interesting spot because she's not on anybody's radar, and people are interested in working with her. I mean, she's Janelle Donato. I mean, people are going to see her in the house and be like, yeah, I'm interested. So she has proposed herself to like working with Enzo and Cody, Nicole F, and sort of that kind of group, which makes sense. I mean, she's already very friendly with Nicole F. She's already, you know, Nicole F is friendly with Cody. I mean, that all kind of makes sense. Enzo, he's my winner pick, so, you know, I'm not going to be mad at that. So it was also kind of interesting because Enzo was saying that he doesn't want to make another brigade. So, I mean, that's good. It's nice to see somebody who's coming into this game and doesn't want to play the same game that they already played, and that he's looking to have a different kind of alliance and try something else. And that's cool. I appreciate that. I don't want to watch the same game being played over and over again. Now, the person that Danny's really worried about is actually David, who's kind of loosely in this whole group anyways, but she doesn't really know him very well. And I get that. If you're in a house and you just don't know where somebody stands, you're going to be a little bit worried about them. Which is probably why Janelle and Nicole F had any kind of conversation, because they don't really need to, but because they're both kind of like, things are a little tense, we can at least have this lie out here between us.
Yeah, you always want to keep up appearances to make it look like everything is okay. And I'm sure Danny and David will have some conversation at some point. I will say now, there was a moment in the Enzo-Danny conversation where you already know where I'm going with this, where I was worried because Enzo, one of his big justifications for wanting to work with Danny for his conversation is, you know, I really like your dad. And
I thought he blew it. I thought it was over.
It was so cringe. It was like, Danny continued to talk with them, but she did not even acknowledge the mention of her father in that conversation at all.
Yeah, and Enzo, man, if you are a fan of her dad, then you understand what their relationship is. So why would you? Why? Just be like, hey, I want to work with you.
Yeah, you don't have to spell it out for her. Just read the room, Enzo. Yeah. Be good. You know, I still think she's gonna work with Enzo as long as it benefits her to work with Enzo. I think Danny would certainly get rid of him if need be. But I think Danny, she's in a pretty good spot right now because she even has, I think, Janelle kind of interested, and which I think is one of Janelle's mistakes, is I don't think she really is recognizing that Danny isn't really with her.
Yeah. Danny is in a very good spot right now.
Yeah, and Davon, I think, is in a really good spot too for all the Davon fans out there, which I am one of them, so this makes me very happy. She's kind of trying to think about some numbers as well. We know that she's pretty close with Bailey. She had a conversation about maybe working with Bailey, Christmas, and Janelle to Janelle. And Davon's also said that she wants to work potentially with Kaysar as well, but Kaysar and her haven't really had that many super close conversations. But I think there's something that's building there. And Davon's just, I think what's making her in such a good spot is that she's such a good communicator. And I think people just like being around her. Like, her read on things hasn't really been that great this season so far, which is kind of surprising because I think Davon's the person who outed the twins, and, you know, she hasn't been great about sort of recognizing some of the allies and people in power right now. But let's just think about this. I know we're all excited about the idea of Kaysar, Janelle, Nicole A, and Ian. Can I interest you in a Davon, Bailey, Janelle, Christmas, and maybe Kaysar alliance?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm mostly interested right now in what's going on with Bailey and Davon, and really just Davon in general, because she's not really dealing with the whole Tyler side of things and that group and Cody and them. And there are more numbers on the other side right now, and she is working really well to kind of have relationships with everybody. Like, nope, she's not on anybody's radar for anything, which is really a sweet spot to be in. And people are feeling pretty good after talking to her. This is a very smart, a little more low key, but very, very social game that she's playing, and she's in a very good spot. I'm really happy about it.
And I think it's also good that I've already seen Janelle trying to open Davon's eyes a little bit about some of what may be going on with Cody and the bros. And so, you know, Davon hopefully will start to realize those things more. But, you know, I think she's...
At least she's not over there playing that game yet.
No. I feel like she's in one of the better spots right now out of anybody in the house.
Yeah. So the last person we're going to talk about is Christmas.
Yeah.
Because she's been laying really low.
Yeah.
Like, we've wanted to be able to talk about her a little bit more, but she is really laying low, which is extremely smart. She's not on anybody's radar right now. So why kick up any dust when you don't need to? It is the right place to be for this week. But she does have a little bit of worry about Memphis, about Ian, about Kaysar. But, you know, she's kind of keeping a lot of this stuff just sort of on the down low.
Yeah, she told us this herself. Like, we didn't have to see a conversation. By the way, Christmas, keep talking to us.
Yeah.
I know I said going in I wasn't that excited for Christmas to be here, but I will be thankful for anyone who has direct communication with us, because I don't think anyone wants to replicate the Cliff Notes debacle from last season.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that she's doing that, because after what happened with the Cliff Notes thing, and we've had people talk to us obviously over the years, but usually it is somewhere like in the backyard, and the backyard's not open. So for her to have any moment to actually speak to us was, you know, a bit of a risk, but you know, I'm glad she did it.
Yeah, Christmas is somebody who I think is doing really well right now, and that's probably why we haven't talked that much about her, because she's just being quiet and having conversations and being around other people, and nobody really seems to be overtly threatened by her, and it doesn't feel like the same exact sort of vibe as her from season 19, which may be evidence that in part, you know, being in that sort of environment can certainly amp up certain emotions where you have Josh and Paul and all this other nonsense.
Yeah, it was like a hive mind mentality, and everybody's just all kind of like, well, we all have to drink the tea, because if we don't, we're going to get kicked out. And now she's in a situation where that's not happening. So we are having a chance to see a little bit of a different game, which again, I appreciate. I'm excited always to see people return, but I like seeing a different game being played. It's cool.
So in general right now, numbers are shifting, people are talking. It's fun to be here for the early part of this game because we usually don't get to see this on the feeds. But later, hopefully, the nomination ceremony will happen. We'll be back. We'll talk through it. We'll get reactions, hopefully, from Keisha, from Kevin, what they're going to do moving forward. But which one of these alliances in this video intrigues you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you did enjoy this video, give us a like, subscribe, and support us further by checking the link in the description to the store, to our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.